panic buy. Jade Thomas is a psychologist and she joins me now. Thank you very much. Great to have you on board. Firstly, what is it within our brains that makes us panic? All the big questions here on GB News.
Panic buying ultimately comes from anxiety. So when we feel anxious, we want to immediately feel more in control of a situation, because that is what makes us feel anxious. When we don't have control over a situation, for example, lack of fuel, we want to find this control elsewhere, and we do that by panic buying. And it's a way of us managing our emotional state, and it almost works similar to a therapy, so similar to retail therapy. That's a way of us managing emotional states, and panic buying works in the same way. So as humans, we like to feel more in control, otherwise we do experience this increase in anxiety.
Yeah, I can understand why people do feel anxious. I can understand why people wouldn't want to take the risk. If you thought there was any chance whatsoever of me running out of fuel on the M1, not getting to work, not being able to drop the hypothetical kids off at school, I can understand all of that stuff. But actually, we all know that we're making the problem worse, don't we? So actually, can we not rise above it? Can we not rise above it and just be a bit more rational? We don't actually have a duty to society, do we, in these situations? Self-preservation seems to always win out.
Exactly, and it comes from irrational fears of the worst consequences. Like you said, we know deep down that we will be able to get fuel at some point. There is just perhaps a shortage. And it comes from those irrational fears, and it comes from something called cognitive distortions, which are irrational thoughts that influence our emotions and our behaviour. So, for example, we catastrophize situations and we jump to conclusions. And the way to overcome this is challenge those thoughts and beliefs and ask yourself, do I have factual evidence for this, or am I being irrational in my thinking? And perhaps you might find that you are being a bit irrational in your thinking.
Regularly told that I am a deeply irrational human being, but when it comes to things like the toilet roll crisis, right, now that was irrational. There was nothing to do with the coronavirus. At no point did Matt Hancock, when he had a job, stand before us and say anything to do with coronavirus will involve you using more loo roll. And yet, however, we all went and did it. Are we essentially just sheeple? If we saw people buying spaghetti hoops, we'd all go out and buy them, would we?
Exactly, and that's another point it comes down to, is also, along with anxiety and along with irrational fears of the worst consequences, it comes down to conformity. It's human nature for us to look towards others for guidance, and particularly in stressful or uncertain situations such as now, when it's been on the news that there's a potential shortage. Back when we had the introduction of coronavirus, that was an uncertain situation, quite a stressful situation as well. And we often believe that other people know more than we do. So we believe that other consumers have some information that potentially we don't have. So like you said, if you saw someone buying spaghetti hoops, you might think, why is everyone suddenly rushing out to buy spaghetti hoops? And it works in that way. And then it just becomes a ripple effect that everyone is now queuing at the petrol stations, and you start to think, should I be doing that? Should I join that queue as well? And you often find yourself doing that. Yeah,
you do indeed. And look, just very quickly, I know we are pressed for time. How easy would it be to manufacture any kind of panic buying crisis? Would all it would take is someone to release a report, pretty much unfounded, that there was a shortage of bottled water or something, and would we see this exact same kind of behaviour? Because that's quite a damning indictment of humanity, isn't it, really?
Exactly, and it's social psychology, and it is the way we work as humans. And like you said, if there was a report that there was a shortage of bottled water, you would most likely see everyone rushing out and stocking up on bottled water. It would be that ripple effect that we're seeing now with fuel.
Gosh, Jade, thank you very much. It was both terrifying and magnificent all at the same time. Jade Thomas there, psychologist, running you through